up, y'all? This is Neena Perez, and this is Straight Talk, No Sugar Added. I am so glad you are here with us today. I freaking love being on here and finding the best humans on the planet to come on here to grow, challenge, and transform your thinking. And so today I found Denis Oakley. He's all the way in the UK, guys. All right. And he's hanging out with us here. So for 20 years, Denis worked in and with startups, helping them grow and scale. And now he helps bold leaders transform their business and their industry that they compete in through wiser choices. And I love that, Denis. So I think we're going to have a fantastic conversation. How are you today?
Thanks, Neena. Absolutely great. I started off at 5 a.m. running through the woods in the dark, so hence the cuts on my forehead when I run into a tree. But the day is going great, even because of that. So loving it.
Good. Oh, poor thing. Well, at least it wasn't being chased by a tiger or bear or anything like that. So that's good.
True. That's a lot scarier.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So, all right, 5 a.m. running. Got you. All right. Denis is no joke, guys. All right. So, Denis, the way I like to start the show is I like to ask that little question: who is Denis? So, Denis, who are you?
Well, I'm still trying to figure that out myself after
Right.
almost 50 years. I think essentially I'm an explorer. I'm always like wanting to go over the horizons and see what's there. If there's a motorway or a big road, people have gone that way already before, not interested. If it's somewhere new, and I've gone out into the jungles of Malaysia and Borneo, across the desert in the Middle East, into the Himalayas on Mount Everest, going out into new places by myself, exploring, or with startups, entrepreneurs, trying to go somewhere where nobody else has been before. That is who I am, living at the edge, and it's wonderful.
Has that always been who you are, though? Like, is that innate in you, or is that something you kind of discovered along the way in life?
I've always been a bit odd, frankly, and I've always wanted to go out and move. In my first year at university, I thought, right, this is too claustrophobic, and hitchhiked across Europe to trying to get to Israel in the middle of winter, which was a
Wow.
pretty daft idea, and ended up in the war in Yugoslavia. And it was brilliant fun. Everybody else freaked out, but it was like, wow, I was going out seeing new places, interesting places. So I think it's pretty much innate in me, but I didn't really realize that for a long time.
Did you leave university like in the middle of it, or did you finish the university? How'd you do that?
University was a bit of a disaster. Got to my finals. I did a philosophy degree, so it takes a certain kind. And it got to the finals, and I looked at the questions. I thought those questions aren't very interesting. Crossed them out, wrote my own questions and
Oh,
answered them,
get out,
and
Denis.
proceeded. It might have worked for somebody far brighter than me, but for good old
That is
me, no, it
brilliant.
wasn't a good idea. So.
It might not have been a good idea. I think that's brilliant. I freaking love that. I love that. All right. So you go around the world, you do all of this stuff. So what made you start up with working with startups? Is that something like, did you start your own business and you discovered things there, or what was that about?
Yeah, about 20 years ago, you go on holiday with your wife and you bounce ideas around how can we get out from under the thumb of the man and sort of do something for ourselves. And we every holiday we come up with some ideas, and then something happened. I think our landlord said, I'm going to sell the house, and a few other things happened. And we said, right, okay, which one of those ideas are we going to take? And we actually decided to set up a trading company. And I think 5 weeks later, we were on a plane out to Southeast Asia, setting up this new company. My wife was 7 months pregnant, and it was a real roller coaster. And running that for 10 years taught me an awful lot. And then people started asking for advice, and it kind of snowballed from there.
How was the trading business? I mean, that's pretty hard, right? So you started the trading business and then you moved out of your country, right? So your wife is
Yeah.
is basically just what did you call yourself in the beginning? A little strange or whatever. So she's just as strange as you, it sounds.
She is, but in a beautifully wonderful way, whereas
Yeah,
I've
I
got all
love
these sharp
that. I
angles.
love it.
Um, but yes, I mean, she was working in the oil and gas industry, and was complaining about how inefficient it was, and we saw this opportunity back then using CRMs. I think it was Salesforce, to deliver a different standard of customer service and a different
Mm,
standard of sales process, and we did that, and it was absolutely brilliant for the first few years. We got to the finals of a big startup competition in the UK, and then the financial crisis hit us, and it was like, there was blood everywhere. I mean, 90
yeah.
our competitors were wiped out, 30% of our customers went bankrupt,
Wow.
and that was really what changed everything for me.
Yeah. What year was that for you guys?
So it was 2007, 8, and it
Mm,
really hit us in the latter part of 2009, 10, and it was just at the
yeah.
loads of Chinese steel mills were coming on board, and the market was just got wiped out. We went
Yeah.
amazing margins to nothing. Um,
Yeah, I think that affected all of us, right? Because in around 2008 is when we lost everything too. My husband and I, our homes, our cars, everything. We were homeless for
mm.
like a year. And then, yeah, so I think it's interesting, isn't it? How it does affect all of us, Dennis. And even though you're on the other side of the world, it's funny how we were similarly going through the same things. So that taught you a lot of things. What is the biggest lesson you think you learned through that heartache?
Resilience. I mean, I'm an endurance athlete. I've done lots of Ironman triathlons and a bunch of other tough
Mm,
stuff. And when things go wrong, I mean, we didn't get quite as bad as you. I mean, we were down to sort of choosing to spend the last of our money on rice, just white
yeah.
rice for our Christmas Day meal, or baby milk for the baby. I mean, and it was that tight to the line. And we've had a bunch of things go wrong since. But and people, let's say, Dennis, how did you cope? It must have been terrific, horrific. It's like whatever,
Yeah.
because you build these muscles that enable you just to keep on going. It's like
That's good.
not false, naive optimism. It's just like, okay, things are bad. I know I can cope with this. What am I going to do to get out of it? And you
Mhm,
just
mhm.
don't melt down. And that's a brilliant gift that I hope everybody doesn't have to have, but when you've got it, it's amazing.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And it really takes you through the tough times of being a solopreneur or an entrepreneur because the truth is it's tough. I know that a lot of these gurus out there are trying to make it sound like you can have your own business and be a millionaire in 30 days. And then it doesn't happen and you're like what happened? I'm doing something wrong. You're not doing anything wrong, and I'm sure, as Dennis can tell you, just in the little story that he's given us already, that there are tough times that happen and sometimes things you cannot control. There, I mean, nobody expected all of that crash and everything to happen, but it did. And so what the best part of that story is that you do build muscles, don't you, Dennis? Like, you start to realize that you get a little wiser, you get a little tougher. Things don't really hurt you as bad as they did before this. So
For
those
sure.
are all really great things. So as a mentor to these businesses, take me through that experience. So I know a lot of entrepreneurs, solopreneurs. I even speak to a lot of people who are thinking of shifting into entrepreneurship, right? So tell us, like, your process. What is it that you do with clients?
Right. So I think the first thing I tell clients is your idea is the enemy. It is the worst thing that you can have, because often we have the idea and then we go out and we try and build it. We try and make it happen. And I work with probably 1,000 startups each year through big corporate coaching
Mm,
programs and my own clients. And typically, when you've got an idea and you run with it, bang, you make something that nobody wants. What you've got to do is just start going out and start asking people, tell me about your life. Tell me what's happening. What are the struggles that you have day to day? And as you build up a map of the customer pains, of the pain space in the industry where other companies aren't addressing these pains, you're then able to get a real sense of what it is that you need to actually build, what the market needs you to build. And
mm,
then slowly putting that together then lets you actually create something that is actually saleable. Unlike, what is it, 92% of entrepreneurs, very strange number. That is exactly the same as the failure rate of entrepreneurs. build something that nobody wants. 92%.
Wow.
Um,
Yeah. Wow, that's awesome. That is that is wise and also something a lot of entrepreneurs don't want to hear right now, Dennis. They're listening to you going, "No, my idea is amazing." So, tell me about that process. Is that something you think if somebody's listening right now because like I said I speak to a lot of, business leaders and things like that. So, is that something that you think takes a long time to do? Should they be more strategic and intentional to try to go and find these answers? What do you think about that?
So I'm working with a super clever guy at the moment. Made a ton of money on Wall Street, sort of making trading algorithms. They kicked him out for 2 years gardening leave, and he's an engineer, and he sort of got me on board. And he said, Dennis, help me out. I'm building this really cool thing. And the first thing I said to him, stop building. You do not want to be building your product or service. How many of your customers, and they were sort of mums and dads of young children, how many of them have you actually spoken to? And he says, oh, you haven't spoken to any. Why do I need to? And it's like, bang, of course you need to sort of go
Right,
out, because
right.
unless you understand who they are, what their pains are, what the journey that they are on, where they want to be at the end of how you're going to change them, then how can you build anything that is really, really going to help them? And remember, as an entrepreneur, I mean, you are not. You're from the Star Wars generation, I guess, a bit like me.
Hmm.
You're not Luke Skywalker. You at
Right,
best are sort of Obi-Wan or Yoda. Yes,
right.
giving your customer, who's the hero of their own movie, giving them advice, pointing in the right direction. You're only ever going to consume a little bit of their attention, of their life, and it's helping in that small slice just to push
Mm.
them into a better place. And if you don't know that, your product's going to fail.
Right. Wow, that's good. That's really good advice. So, when you're dealing with your clients, are you dealing with them in all kinds of industries, or is there a particular industry that you mainly lean into?
I work with anybody and everyone. Well, no, I don't do gambling. I don't do a bunch of the immoral businesses. Anybody I work with has got to be doing good. Not necessarily a B Corp, but be clear that
Hmm.
what they're
Hmm.
making is going to make people's lives better. But beside that, I do pro bono work for a lot of churches and sort of people trying to save the environment. And then a lot of it sort of deep tech stuff, AI, machine learning, hydrodynamics, hypersonic boats, anything. Because
Hmm.
to me, the product, the technology, not that important. It's the process. And once you get the process, and these be rich in 30 days gurus, they don't tell you it's all about the process. And the
Right.
process really is amazing. We spent 20, 30 years developing the process. It's all out there. Read Steve Blank, read Eric Ries, read Alexander Osterwalder. It's all out in the public domain. But all these hucksters and frauds selling sort of snake oil get rich quick schemes are just masking that. And you take this
Yeah.
process. And the company I work with, 500 Global, one of the world's largest venture capital firms, we've created 21 unicorns out of that. 21
Wow.
companies that are worth more than $1 billion, created $1 billion out of nothing, each one of them using this process. And it works whether you want doing a mum and pop shop, whether you want a lifestyle business, whether you've got a tech business, whatever you want to do, whether it's a charity organization, apply the process and you have got massively increased chances of success.
That's fantastic. So you're saying that what you've developed is a process that people you put, I guess, you mentor people through, right? Is that what you're saying? And that process is what helps them develop the uniqueness of what it is that they're bringing to the table.
Yeah.
Is that what
Yeah.
I'm understanding?
Caveat, it's not my process. I'm explaining, I'm evangelizing the
Okay,
process, but it's
got it.
it's work that lots of other very clever people have sort of put out there and demonstrated, and I'm helping people make this practical in their businesses.
Oh, that's wonderful. So what's one of the things you think like what are your top things that you think a person who's even thinking about developing a product or a service, what's like the first kind of things you try to dig into to help them with?
The first thing, literally, I can't say this often enough, just the idea is literally it's a diving board, and you dive off that into a big sea of customer pain. And
Okay.
really, you want to immerse yourself in the things that are going wrong in people's lives. You want to talk to them, and then really listen, listen, listen. Just like Stephen Covey was saying
Mhm.
so many
Mhm.
years ago in Habits of Highly Successful People, first seek to understand and then to be understood. So it's really going out, understanding the story of their lives, the jobs that they need to do. And once
Mhm.
you start to understand that, you can then start fitting the jigsaw pieces into the pains in their lives and solving those problems. That transforms lives. And this is true whether you're in B2B software or very much B2C consumer sort of stuff. It doesn't really matter.
Right, right. So then it sounds to me also like you need to really narrow down who it is exactly your audience, who you're trying to, solve a pain point for, right? Like I know that
Mm.
niching, basically niching it down. Do you believe in that? Do you believe in niching it really, really down? Or do you believe that you can do a broader scope?
The more niche, the better. I mean, a brilliant idea is this idea of a minimum viable audience. We've heard of minimum viable products, but what is the smallest possible audience that you can find for your
That's
products or
good.
services?
That's
And
good.
typically, go for 100, go for 500
That's so
people,
good.
way below sort of what Facebook is and their advertising is telling you. It's like, where can you find these absolutely ideal people? And if you're still trying to find 20,000 people, you're not niche enough. Find this
Right.
niche, make them into really true fans. And if you've got 1,000 true fans for almost anything, you're made. You're going to have your bills paid for the rest of your life if they buy everything that you buy. That's all you need, 1,000 people who believe in you.
Right.
Nail that and then expand. Then you've got something that works really well. But if you try and go out to 1 million people before you've even got 10 fans, it's like, well, that's not going to work.
Yeah, yeah. No, and that I love that you said that. That is so true, right? Because we have gotten into this pigeonhole in this world, in social media world, I should say, where the more followers, the better, and I'm
Yeah.
like, no, actually, I'd rather not have a lot of followers, but the followers who want to be there, for lack of a better term, followers, right? So when you are trying to niche down or help your client um have fans. I love that word. Right? You said that they'll be fans of what you do. Is there like like one strategy that you can give our people listening that would create a fan?
There are a lot. So I think it's really different for each business, but I'll
No,
try and
it's
give you an
true.
example. So I'm working with big company at the moment. We're running an entrepreneurship program for them, training I think 1,000 odd people through this process that I'm describing. And our goal in this program is we are going to get every single one of them to give us a 9 or a 10 on a net promoter score. And so we know roughly that we need to devote sort of 10 hours to each person. But if we have to blow the budget to get 15 or 18 hours to get those people absolutely delighted with what we're doing, that's absolutely fine, because
Right.
the impact in the customer is going to be so huge that basically everything else becomes so easy. And it's figuring out how do we deliver, as a rule of thumb, 50 times better than our competitor. It's easy to be
Mm,
twice as good, 5 times as good, but can you get that transformational change, like having one of those old copies of the Encyclopedia Britannica, all
mhm,
those old volumes stacked up,
mhm.
and Wikipedia? Which is easier? Which is so much better? It's Wikipedia.
Right.
How can you do everything like that in comparison to your competitors? It's super hard to figure that out, which is why we go back and try and understand the customer pains before we do that, because that's what we're looking for. How do you create something really transformational?
That's really good, Dennis. So let me ask you a question. Do you have some kind of a scope, an algorithm, or something that tells you how long it would take somebody from that process of learning what their customer needs to the launch day. You don't have to talk about the success part of it because that
Yeah.
all comes, in stages. But I'm just wondering, like, if somebody called Dennis today and wanted to learn this process and learn the program, um, I guess it would depend on the individual, wouldn't it? I'm kind of answering my own question, I think. But how long do you think it would be from a person who's really dedicated and wants to, I don't know, let's say a lifestyle business, some sort of coaching, consulting, mentoring, I don't know, type of business. What do you think it would take? Or how long do you think it would take?
12 hours. Um,
Really?
yes. I
Okay.
used to run a program called Lean Startup Machine. We'd have entrepreneurs come in of an evening and say, yeah, this is my idea. And we said, right, okay, that's great. You think we're going to teach you something? We are. We're going to send you out of the building and you're going to go out into the road, into the street, and you're going to go and talk to people and ask about their problems. And they come back and say, my idea is absolutely dead. Nobody liked it. No, it didn't solve any of their problems. And this was true for
It's a
90% of
great
them.
exercise. Yeah.
It's shocking. And they come back and say, well, what were their problems? And then tell us. And you go through the process of figuring out how to create something quick and cheap. And then we send them back out sort of that day or the next day. And they'd be saying, hey, if I came to you and you had this problem and this is what we do, would you buy it? And they said, well, actually, yes, that seems pretty good in quite a lot of cases. And they said, okay, do you want to make a down payment? And people do make down payments. And literally, you go out, you find the problem, you validate it very quickly, and then you go out with a solution to that specific problem, and you ask them for money straight off. That gives you massive verification that you're on the right way. If
I
people
see.
aren't prepared to pay anything for you after 12 hours, then okay, you haven't got the right product solution fit, and you
Oh,
need to
wow.
change it. Um, one of my friends, just to carry on, is a guy called Maven Paris. He's from Sri Lanka. And he says, right, Dennis, all you white guys, you have got no idea. You just sit there, fat and happy. You take 6 months, you take 9 months to get your startup off the ground because you don't need to hustle. We've got no money. If basically my startup isn't
Mhm.
making money in a month, I'm not eating. My family's not eating. So I put a
Mm,
month in, I'm making money, or it's dead and I'm trying something else. And it's that very much that Asian hustle that I
that's
think we
good.
really need to do. Can we get to money quickly? Can we validate? If not, try something else.
Wow. Go ahead, Dennis. That was awesome. I know people are like,
You didn't expect me
what
to
did he
say
just
12
say?
hours,
And
did
no, I
you?
did not. I absolutely did not. I absolutely did not. And I'll tell you why. I've spoken to other amazing entrepreneurs and very successful people. And it just depends on who you speak to, right? There are some people that says, oh, you'll have it done within a week. You'll have it done 6 months. Some people say a year. Right. So, I mean, that's 12 hours. That's the first for me, Dennis. That's a mic drop moment. That's a mic drop moment. That's awesome. All right, cool. So, I really like what you're bringing to the table, and I like the way you are transforming, even the way just in this conversation. I know that people are thinking this is transforming their thinking. I know it did for me, in that I realized that there's a lot of things that I did do right. A couple things I did do
Yeah,
really right. And one of them was I went out and did ask a bunch of the women. I want to work with women. So a bunch
yeah,
of the women, what's going on here? What's going on in your heart? What is it that you're struggling with and stuff? And that's how I came up with my women's coaching business, because I didn't
yeah,
know kind of where I wanted to go. So at least I
sure.
know I did that piece, and that's great. The other piece that I need to work on is the doing it in 12 hours. That's that's the key there, Dennis, right?
Yeah.
Because I got clients and everything, but it just took me a little bit longer to build, right? Because I don't know, I just maybe you're right. Maybe it is the lack of that hustle, right? Of that knowing that if I don't do this, my family won't eat.
Yes, I mean, and okay, the 12 hours, that's getting the first cash. But a lot of the time you can get the cash and then there is a long period of exploration or
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
iteration before. I mean, it can often, I mean, you look at Airbnb, I mean, that was 7 or 8 years. I mean, looking at Uber, they were messing around with running a taxi company in San Francisco or LA to start with
Right.
before some VC said, oh, what happens if you do this? And then suddenly everything changed. So and I look out at a lot of the entrepreneurs and people that I work with, and certainly my own entrepreneurial experience is you have an idea. Obviously, I say get rid of that as quickly as possible. Get out, validate it, see what happens. Can you get some cash? And then it's a process of constantly iterating it,
Yeah.
improving it, and improving it.
Yeah.
And at some point, everything starts coming
Yeah.
together. And honestly, the more mud that you're throwing at the side of the barn, the more chance you've got of actually getting something that works. Uh,
Right.
to have a brilliant idea, just have lots of ideas. Seriously, that's all it is. It's just every day turn up, keep on saying, "Can I try this? Can I try this? Can I try this? Can I try this?" And
Mm-hmm,
just
mm-hmm.
comes back to the resilience earlier on. You keep on pushing, you keep on doing that, and eventually you click, and suddenly you've got $1 million, $5 million, 20 million, $100 million business because you've cracked the code of whatever it is that you're trying to crack.
That's great. That's fantastic. So, what do you say to someone who's holding on to that idea or that business? It's not working and it's their baby. So, they don't want to let it go.
That's a hard one. I mean, I've ridden stuff down into flames. I mean, I've got way more failures to my card than I've got successes. Um, I think go on a long walk, go on holiday. Don't sweat it. Find the time and space to think. That's absolutely critical.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
you're in that really busy moment, you've got no ability to think strategically. You're in a mess. So just finding ways, whether it's long showers, um, long drive with a big flask of coffee going nowhere, just whatever it is, let the subconscious mind start connecting the dots that normally get drowned out by the sound, and then the truth usually starts to
That's
emerge. I
good
mean,
advice.
I've agonized over killing businesses, and sometimes I've just done like that and just killed them in the moment, walked away from a couple of years of work, and no thought about it again. And I should have
Right.
felt guilty. Other times, it's been harder.
Yeah. Yeah, it is, right? It is. It does hurt sometimes to think that something that you've worked so hard to try to build is just not working. And it's really, really hard to let that go. And some people that I've spoken to, feel like failures. They feel like
Mm,
now they can't do anything. But I think failure is feedback. If anything, it's going to just make you better. Right. I
yeah.
think we learn so many amazing lessons through failure. You've even said that yourself. Like, you've had way more failures than successes that has really helped you develop who and what you do today, right? Yeah.
But for sure, and it's those failures, every single one of those failures has been because I haven't gone and spoken to customers. I haven't listened to them. I haven't really
That's good.
focused on understanding them. If I had, I wouldn't have had most of those failures. It's
Yeah.
that simple.
Yeah. 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 But then that's because of those failures, you just gave us amazing advice. So see how that all works? It just works wonderfully. So, Dennis, how does somebody work with you? Like, say somebody's listening right now and it's like, wow, I really like what Dennis has to say. I do want to, try to learn to build a better business or become a unicorn, one of Dennis's unicorns. So give us like how people can reach out to you, how they can, speak with you, things like that.
For sure. Okay. First off, send me an email, Dennis, just as it's said under my name, Dennis at dennis-oakley.com, or head to the website, dennis-oakley.com, or just look me up on LinkedIn, Dennis Oakley Innovation. I'm the only one like that. Send me a message. I usually reply within a day or so, and then we just take the conversation from there. Most of the time, I'll work with you to take you through a process similar to this, having a conversation every couple of weeks to be pointing you in the right direction.
That's
And it
awesome.
honestly, it saves you so much time and heartache.
It really does. You know what, Dennis? It really does. And I'm glad you said that because I think people are so afraid to invest in themselves. And that's the one place you should be investing in. You are the best investment you'll ever make. So, go ahead and reach out to Dennis and see where you can go from here, because you never know. And so, Dennis, thank you so much for spending this time on Straight Talk and for pouring into my audience the way you did. You left
Uh,
a lot of valuable lessons. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Neena, and thank you everyone for listening. Good luck on your journey. It's going to be amazing. Whether you succeed or fail, it's worth taking.
Yes, it is. You heard that now, right, guys? So make sure that you go ahead and reach out to Dennis. I'm going to link all of his information below so that you know exactly where to go and so you don't miss anything. Make sure that you like, share, subscribe, all that great stuff so that we can keep growing all those entrepreneur dreams that you have inside of you and actually make you another unicorn. I freaking love that. So, anyway, thank you guys for being here. Neena Perez, Straight Talk, no sugar added. Until next time. Here we go.